What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Infusion Breakdown Show. As always, it's your boy Joshua Freeman. To my left, I got Mr. Bryan Carey. To my right, I got Mr. Desmond Tillmon. How's everybody doing today?
Good. Well, I'm
Good?
tired.
So you tired?
Yeah. I was asleep when y'all sent the text. It was like 6 o'clock, and like I had woke up like 2 minutes before I responded.
I think it's the weather, though. I mean,
Don't say that.
what?
We got a long work week, and it's supposed to rain every day this week.
It's probably gonna change.
That's payback for the other week
What do you mean?
when it was nice. Now we get all the rain.
But yeah, we got 3 questions today. The first question is going to be: does jealousy have value in driving humans to improve themselves, or is it purely a negative emotion? So, what do you guys think? Remember, comment below. We want to hear you guys' opinions. Let us know, okay? So, who wants to take this first?
You sure?
Yeah,
I mean,
because I'm undecided.
Okay.
I'm undecided how. I want to see how you're viewing just jealousy in itself.
so I do believe there is some utility to jealousy in the short term, but in the long term, I do not think it's sustainable. So the first thing I thought of was the phenomenon when people call it bossing up. So let's say like they in a relationship with somebody and they happen to leave them because of some trait that they have that the person isn't happy with or not satisfied with. Let's say the person isn't at the stage they should be in their career or in the best physical condition or financially or just anything like that. So the person leaves the other person, in order to get back at them, they decide, oh, well, I'm going to improve in that aspect. So they start working out, they get a better job, they get on this stuff basically. And in the short term, I feel that might be okay because you're achieving something that's a positive result and it's going to help you in life. But the only drawback to that is you're doing it, is your motivation behind doing it. So when you're doing things with that kind of mindset, you're doing it for a negative reason. So you're constantly dwelling on it versus just letting it pass over and doing things to help you. So you're acting in a detriment to your own mental health. You're focusing on something that would probably be in your best interest just to let go.
In the short term.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like it can translate to being a good thing if the motivation behind it changes. So let's say you might start going down that path because she felt like you weren't good enough because of the job you had, so you advance in your career. But once you start on that path, it'd be better for you to change your motivation behind and actually say, hey, this is something I actually need. This is something that helps me advance myself and better myself as a person. This is something that I want to do versus just thinking about that person. Need more time?
No, because how you're describing jealousy, I feel like you're describing jealousy in the same context as bitterness. Like, I feel like if you're kind of referencing like the relationship mindset and doing things like, I guess, for your own self-improvement to kind of show somebody they missed out on X, Y, and Z, I feel like that's done out of bitterness or spite. That's not necessarily done out of like jealousy.
Okay, I left out a key detail for that example. There was someone else
Okay.
who happens to have those traits that you don't or didn't at that point in time.
Okay, so you're okay.
So
you're doing
yeah.
the comparison aspect.
Right.
Okay.
So I completely left it out. My bad.
Yeah, because how you were describing it, I was like, this sounds a lot like bitterness. This doesn't sound like jealousy at all.
Does it say bitterness? He spelled it funny.
Okay, so then
Yeah.
I can actually go off that then. So I actually agree with a lot of that, but at the same time, when I first read it this morning, I was like, jealousy. And I think like without understanding what jealousy means and what's synonymous with jealousy, you automatically tie it to the negative emotion, the second half of the question. But then when you actually like think about it and see what it's synonymous with, it's like envious or desirous. Mm-hmm. And that's how it could actually be looked at from a positive standpoint, because jealousy isn't always bad. I think like from a negative, like from a hip hop standpoint, where it's like a bar where like males can't get jealous, that's a female trait. And we take that and we run with it and we're like, damn, like jealousy is like, you know, it's like it's taboo almost. Like you don't ever want to experience that emotion. But when you actually look at jealousy like in its just original context, I feel like some jealousy is necessary because there has to be a new standard, a new bar, And not everybody has the ability to set their own standard and bar, and so they like see what somebody else has and like, this is what I want to achieve. And that's still a form of jealousy. Somebody has something that you desire or something that you're envious of, and not to say you want to take it from them, but you want to achieve that same status. That's still a form of jealousy. It would base it off of what, you know, the general context of jealousy is. So that's why I say it could be good, because originally I was like, man, there's nothing positive about jealousy. It's a negative all the way. It's just gonna tear you down mentally. But then as I actually sat back and I was like, you know what, the only way I can tackle this subject is I look what's synonymous with jealousy, and it actually is like, you know, oh, I desire to be wealthy, or oh, I'm envious of somebody because they have something that I want. Envy isn't necessarily bad. It's just, you know, it's something that you really want. Somebody got it before you did. That doesn't delay, you know, your desire, or it shouldn't affect your desire to want it. It's just, you know, well, damn, now I really got to step my shit up, like, to get it, per se. So
it's like jealousy and admiration, they're two sides of the same coin. It's all about connotation.
Yep.
That's carried with it.
Yep.
Okay. But does jealousy have value in driving humans to improve themselves, or is it purely a negative emotion? I say it does have desire. It does have value improving, having people improve themselves. Mm-hmm. But I say it depends on the person. Like, of course, it depends on the person. Like, if your jealousy is consumed by more hate, then it's going to be just a negative emotion. Well, there's a little bit more love in that jealousy, because you know how Drake says, it's jealousy is a little between love and hate.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like he said something like that. Mm-hmm. But it just depends on the person, like, and what your jealousy actually consume, you know. But it does have value to have people improve themselves with some things, like, say for instance, what I have the example. Okay, say like your partner, like if your partner likes a picture on Instagram or something like that, like so a sexy picture of somebody else on Instagram or something like that, and you like either depending on the person, like depending on who you are, you're either gonna like, oh, I'm gonna post even more sexy pictures on Instagram myself, make him like my shit, like, or you're gonna either like, oh man, you're gonna be jealous and go to him like, what are you doing? What you liking pictures for? What's going on? Like, yeah. So it just really depends on the person, how you take it, and basically that's how it is.
So, and using that example, that's what like the whole boss up, or the glow up thing comes to effect. Okay.
Yeah, basically.
Also, I was thinking about how emotions, they're simply our reaction to our expectations mapped out to reality. Mm-hmm. So when we get jealous or angry or any kind of emotion, it allows us to be introspective and ask ourselves, why do we feel that way? So jealousy does have some utility in that fact too, because when you look at a situation, you can ask yourself, why do I feel jealous about this? And it helps you learn a lot more about yourself. So it can be good for your personal development, your progress in life, but you just have to learn how to utilize it properly and don't let it consume you, like you said.
Yeah. Some people, I mean, I feel that it only goes to people that's all the jealous type. Some people are not even the jealous type too. Some people just don't care. Like, if your partner likes that picture on sexy picture on Instagram, like, you see it, okay, just keep
no bearing on my life.
Yeah, it's like, okay, whatever. Some people are not even the jealous type too. I feel like this isn't the jealous.
I'm not the jealous type, but it definitely shows in a relationship, and then it shows in the gym. But like life itself, I don't care what your status is.
Hold on, would you?
I said in a relationship it will show, and in the gym it shows. But like life itself, I don't care. Okay. I say like relationship because it's like the comparison thing. We're like, oh, why are you talking to this person? Oh, what does that like? Why are you spending more time with this, that, and the third? Like, it could be male friends, female friends type thing. And then in the gym, it's like, you know, somebody has the physique that I aspire for. It's not necessarily like, you know, me trying to tear him down because he got it. It's like, you know, I kind of it inspires, like,
it inspires you.
Like, I'm not gonna say envious, or I think basing it off the synonyms, desirous would be the correct word to break it down. Like, I desire to have that form of physique per se.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. I was like, oh, okay, I think something like that.
I can go a little bit harder today.
I
can go a little harder today,
like that, you know. But,
it gives you something to aim at.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
like if you're in the gym by yourself and it's just like, you know, a day you really don't want to be in there, but then you see somebody, it could be male or female, come in and you can tell they on top of their shit. Like, I feel like people simultaneously like feed off each other without even like knowing.
Absolutely.
I said simultaneously. That's not the correct word, but I feel people definitely feed off each other in the gym without even knowing. It's crazy. Because I remember I was like, this was like when I first hit 150. And I was like the first time I ever benched like 195, and there was this dude, big dude, probably like 250, 260. His it's the chest press machine, the sitting chest press machine, and he got 445s on each side. He's like, dude, you could lift so much more if you had your form down, and that's like just acknowledgement. Like he could have easily just kept lifting his. he could have easily kept lifting his. What is that? That's like one. Well, that's not even. I don't even know.
360.
Well.
90, 90, 90, 90. Yeah, 490.
Well, it's like isolated, so it's like you use on one arm and then.
Okay, so 180 on each arm.
Yep. Well, 180 would be 4. It was 3. That's why I'm. Okay. It's like 135.
But
yeah.
But can a person ever be consumed by jealousy and it be like a negative emotion and it be improve the person good overall? Prove themselves overall?
I'll say in the short term. It depends on how if that motivation switches.
I don't know.
Why you say that?
Well, you said it depends on the person. Did y'all say it depends on the person?
I didn't say that.
Oh, I'm gonna just say it depends on the person, because some people let jealousy like eat them alive, to where like some people let jealousy become confrontational, to whereas the person you're jealous of doesn't even understand why you're jealous in the first place or what the issue is. Like, I know going through high school, there's a lot of people are like, well, I don't like her. And then the person that she's saying she doesn't like, she's like, well, I don't even know why you like me in the first place.
Right.
So it's like one of those things where it truly depends on the person, because a lot of people let jealousy eat them up inside, and then they create these false narratives and false situations in their hand to where they feel like people are viewing them a certain way, where those words or whatever might not even have been spoken to begin with. Or those desires might not even be there to begin with. Like, you feel like somebody's trying to push up on your man, when really, you don't have ownership. You don't have ownership. Like, if somebody wants to talk, like civil conversation is allowed. Like, you're allowed to talk just as human beings. And I feel like when you put that ownership tab on somebody, it's like, it's unfair to you and it's unfair to them per se. Like, feeling like, oh, my man shouldn't be talking to any female type thing. That's what I meant by like ownership. Yeah. That's why you kind of glance at it like, ownership. You can no.
I had a flashback of a tweet. So it was a tweet that had been shared on like Instagram. I understand. I know tweets are for Twitter, but somebody had screenshotted the picture and they put it on Instagram, and it was like the guy, he had texted this girl that was in one of his classes, and he said, I'm stuck with number X or whatever it was, something like that, along those lines. And he asked her for the notes. And so the girl's boyfriend texted back, he says, nah, she's with me. And then he said, yo, like, I'm trying to pass the class. Like, what are you doing? And so the boyfriend's being like really insistent on not doing that. So that illustrates perfectly what you were just talking about. Yeah. Like you said, civil conversation is allowed. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you have that ownership and you're just over territorial, that's when that jealousy creates an issue.
Yep.
Funny. But
you never saw that?
What, the actual? Nah.
The post?
Nah.
Okay.
I was actually thinking of another thing, but it doesn't have to do anything with jealousy. It just has to do with a woman denying a guy, like, I have a boyfriend. I was like, I would just ask for you.
Yeah.
I was like, we have a project we got to do. Like, we could. Yeah, like, what are you talking about? I don't want to date you. Like, what are you talking about?
I'm just really not trying to fail.
But you said it. But you said it's in the short term. What exactly do you mean as far as in the short term?
So if that's the catalyst that starts you on the path of self-improvement, so someone who isn't satisfied with their physique and they start working out and then they continue along that path. Like Desmond was saying how he started with his fitness journey. At first it wasn't something that you necessarily wanted to do, but your motivation shifted, right? And you stuck with it. So overall I would say that was a benefit to his well-being. It was good in the long run. Versus if he would have just worked out and he had that hatred, well, that's exactly pertinent to this situation. Yeah, he had a dislike. Then it would have been detrimental to his mental well-being, because he would have just every second that he spent in the gym, he would have hated it.
Okay. But yeah, you said short term, and I was just thinking like, because to ask the question, can a person ever be consumed by jealousy and it be a negative emotion and it still drives the person to improve themselves? I'm thinking something like Hitler or something like that, where it was just still a long term, deal, but it was jealousy, and it was a negative emotion, but he still tried to improve himself over there with the Holocaust and everything like that. You know what I mean?
I think we need to take a step back.
I think, I'm not about to. compare my fitness journey to the annihilation of a
Holocaust.
I was talking really the term of jealousy, as far as what he did with it.
So could you illustrate his jealousy? Are you saying about the Jewish population?
Yeah, about the Jewish population.
I thought it was just they were being used as a scapegoat
As far
for the problems of Germany.
He was essentially saying that the Jews were to blame for losing the First World War.
Right.
I didn't think a lot of socioeconomic issues going on.
Well, I kind of read it was more, not really more of a jealousy. We had something to do with a little bit of jealousy.
It was a factor.
Yeah, it was a factor too. Yeah, but I understand what you're talking about. But okay.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't aware of that.
No, we used to talk about Hitler a lot. It's just like I haven't touched on Hitler in a long time, so it's just like, you know what, I'm not my tools aren't sharpened, so I can't speak on them right now. Because when we were at Cloud 9, he used to like send me like questions, like if Hitler would have used his power for this, that, or the third, would it have been like how would history look at him per se? And I had answers then, because like political science, you kind of touch on dictators and fascism and Nazism, but right now I don't have the answers. I don't have the answers, Sway. I ain't got the answers.
But I think that's an interesting question. Would you mind like reiterating from the start about him being jealous and
As far as the question,
the sub question you just had?
the sub question, as far as I was saying that he was jealous of the Jewish people, and he, as far as the actual question, the first question I asked was, can a person ever be consumed by jealousy and it be a negative emotion and it still drives him to better himself? I was saying his negative emotion of his jealousy of the Jewish people drove him to better himself by creating the Holocaust and doing everything he does as far as marching and everything like that.
I don't even think that bettered himself.
You don't think he was trying to better himself?
No, he may have been trying to, but I don't think he did.
I think he kind of did better himself, because everybody knew Hitler as this timid frontline soldier. Like Hitler wasn't as charismatic as he was like at the start of the First World War.
Yeah, that's what.
And so as he kind of like gained his notoriety, like through the Social Democratic Party, that's where his bravado and charisma came from. So it's he kind of got his jealousy, or he kind of got his like confidence through means like not normal. Like he got a lot of his confidence by obviously the, you know, views he had as far as like the Jews. He was part of, like, if you know, the Weimar Republic was struggling during that time, so there was a lot of socioeconomic problems.
Right.
And then so obviously during socioeconomic problems, certain, you know, groups are probably giving priority, or you're looking for someone to blame per se. And then you kind of go into where he had his revolt and spent time in prison, and that's where Mein Kampf was written. So kind of like you spend time behind bars, you write all your notes, you write all your thoughts down, and you go back and you read it every day. I mean, in a sense, he bettered himself, but he sharpened his tools to stab the wrong people per se.
Well, stab anybody, really.
Yeah, really anybody, because he definitely was all for. And the thing was, he was. I want to say his mom was a Jew. He was Austrian, but obviously, as we talked with Leanne and Matt, like he was Austrian, tried to get into art school, didn't get into art school. World War II outbroke. He went to Germany and joined, you know, the Holy Roman Empire. So.
Okay. So yeah, it was a very complex situation with Germany at that time, because so you mentioned the fact that he was very timid, and he wasn't always this charismatic leader, but a large part of that could be attributed to Joseph Goebbels. I had to look up the guy's name. I had just listened to on Biographics channel by Simon Whistler. He's a British guy. So every few days they do like biographies of these famous people. So he was talking about how effective Hitler saw Joseph Goebbels, his regime. At one point in time, Goebbels wanted to move away and just kind of like distance himself away from the party. He wouldn't allow it. So that he was that influential in portraying this image and getting that across. So he transcended being a person at that point in time. It was, you know, the propaganda, and he became this
centerpiece.
This figurehead almost.
Yep. Then he gained power, and everything went south from there. Well, it didn't go south, but obviously a lot of the previous, like Hermann Göring and all them that were like substantial military figures in the First World War joined. And obviously everything went great until defeats, and then I think there was a point to where like even people in his like cabinet couldn't even speak to him. They had to go through Goebbels to get to him.
Well, at one point he put Goebbels in charge.
Yeah,
like towards the very end.
Well, I'm not. No, it was like this was when Hitler was still like at the peak of his prime, to where like he was on like some untouchable stuff, to where like you got to go through him to get to me per se. So like Hitler was all like jokes aside, he was a bad dude.
Yeah, but what are you looking at?
No, I was spaced out.
But yeah, I just look at jealousy as a man-made thing. Really.
Jealousy is man-made.
Yeah, like, well, they make it up in their head, so it's really man-made. As far as we make it up ourselves. So as far as, say for instance, I'm jealous of your hairstyle or something like that.
You took a page out of my book.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. I thought you was gonna come and say that.
No,
I thought you was gonna come and say that. But
German engineering, made in China, man-made.
But yeah, I just feel it's man-made, and I feel we are essentially helping ourselves. We're essentially creating reason for ourselves to either better ourselves, or reason for ourselves to either spread our hatred even more, in a way. Does that make sense?
Trying to tear the next person down because you don't have what they have.
Because we're assigning value to something. Because we assign the value to something. Because if you don't see any value in it, you're not going to be jealous.
Yeah, exactly. So
So it's completely subjective. So that's why you're saying it's man-made.
Yeah.
It's a construct of our minds and our perspectives.
exactly.
I like it.
Put that at Desmond, but I was like, he gonna come in here and be like, jealousy is man-made. I don't really look at jealousy because I don't get jealous. I'm Desmond.
I'm not just a man, I'm a Superman. Frederick Nietzsche.
What is anything else you guys want to say about this topic?
No,
I'm good.
Okay. So what do you guys think? Does jealousy have value in driving humans to improve themselves, or is it purely a negative emotion? What do you think? Let us know, okay? Next question is going to be privilege. Well, it's not really a question, it's kind of like a topic. Privilege, well, it's kind of a question. Where do we draw the line? So, the type of privilege that's out there. Let us know, what do you think? Where do we draw the line as far as privilege? No matter whatever type of privilege you face, no matter it's white privilege, all the other privileges out there, okay? What do you guys think? So, you guys want to...
So some quick background about this.
Yeah, sure.
So I was on Twitter recently, and because I'm trying to get back on the platform, just for promoting purposes and general stuff like that.
What's your Twitter name? What's your Twitter name?
Bryan 432. I'm about to change it though.
Did you make a new Twitter?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it was one that I was using for a class project because I don't have to log in. Anyway, it's a long story. It doesn't matter. But anyhow, so I came across this suggested news article, and it said something about. Let me read it off. And I did some research into like what the blogger actually said. So this is a debate about weight privilege emerges after a woman says he dated her only for a dare. And so I thought, like, I saw the word like weight privilege in quotations, and I was like, this is getting ridiculous. Like, we're just creating privileges for everything. So I was thinking, like, where are we gonna draw the line at and stop just labeling stuff as privilege?
Okay.
Like, is privilege limited to things that are within our control? No, excuse me, things that are out of our control, or do they extend to stuff like that?
Okay. What do you think?
Where do we draw the line with privilege?
I mean, think about it, because we're all privileged in a number of different domains.
I don't think you can draw the line with something that you didn't necessarily. You weren't part of the like. How do I want to say this? I'm like a big believer that you can't make the rules to an establishment that you didn't create, and privilege is one of those things that like Black people didn't create, so it's kind of hard for us to draw the line. And as cynical as that sounds, I just say that because like someone is always going to rewrite what privilege is. You're going to say, oh, we're calling this white privilege. Well, we're going to move the line back, or we're going to move the goalpost a little bit closer so you can get some advantage, and then we're going to completely move it back to where it was at, per se. That's how I kind of view privilege, per se.
So you think along the lines of white privilege, exclusively?
That's how I've never really thought of like white privilege, because.
What do you think about that?
I feel like it's just.
I think it's ridiculous.
People writing the rules to something we don't have control over.
White privilege. I'm trying to think. As far as the skinny person is more privileged than the bigger person?
Yeah, there's certain things they don't go through.
You know how
understandable.
Well, that, and you know how people are more inclined to speak someone or be more friendly to someone.
Yeah, I'm thinking of something like that.
And
I'm thinking something like that. Like they're probably more.
In all fairness, the young lady who wrote the article, Stephanie Yeboah, she never used the term white privilege in her article. It was just a discussion that was prompted by her article because she was. So what happened was this guy, he met her on Bumble, which is a dating app, and he ended up sleeping with her, and then he just ghosted her. And then she found out from one of his friends that followed her blog that he only was sleeping with her because it was a challenge for money for him to sleep with a big girl. Right. And so once he did that, then the conversation was started. It's just she was being targeted for her weight, and I guess that's where the discussion came from. But she never was the one who coined the term weight privilege.
So that was a cynical Desmond. My utopian and euphoric answer would be, you draw the line at privilege when you begin to normalize everything. As long as there's class, privilege is going to exist. As long as there's fine goods and then normal goods, you have your luxury brands and then you have your great value brands, privilege will exist. As long as there's private institutions and then public institutions, privilege is going to exist. As long as there's luxury cars and then you have your cars that break down inside of 10 years of use, privilege is going to exist. And then even if you want to factor in the whole weight thing, or even gyms per se, certain gyms that you pay good money for to have certain amenities, you're not going to find at a gym that is like a Planet Fitness gym or a 24-hour fitness gym, 24/7 fitness gym. So privilege is always going to exist because that's how society is structured. It's structured to reward those. Ideally structured to reward those who work hard for what they want, and then it also is structured to place those who are born into wealth or born into a certain race or born into a certain religion or weight standard as well. So some people are beneficiaries by default, they didn't choose it, that's just what they ended up with. And then some people work in to obtain that privilege per se, and it's that's why I say it's never going to end, because things aren't normalized. It's not normal for everybody to be on the same playing field because it's never been that way. Well, it's never been that way. Even if you think back before, it's always been some form of either a monarchy or democracy of some form, to where you have your ruling class and then you have your peasants and then you have people that fall into line all the way back up to the ruling class. So I feel like privilege is always going to exist if the people high up portray this life that is so luxurious and glorious and so much better than what every average day Joes go through, because you kind of well damn, I want a piece of that. So that's why I feel privilege isn't going to we're never going to draw the line, because we don't write the rules for it. It'll be different if I'm not even going to say black people, but if the people who were in power weren't glorifying luxury and material goods, and more or less glorifying humanitarian needs, pushing agendas that kind of revolve around unity and classless societies and stuff like that. It sounds a lot like socialism, because it is. You said again? I say
in character.
Yeah, because it sounds like socialism because that's exactly what it is. But privilege is always going to exist in a capitalist society. It's going to exist, of course, in a socialist society as well, because people are going to cling to whatever power they can get. But at the same time, it's kind of life at this point.
It's a side effect we just have to deal with.
Yeah.
I basically agree with everything you just said. I really agree with everything you just said. When you said the first part you said about everybody can't draw the line because we haven't been structured that way, basically. I put you really can't draw the line because everybody doesn't have privilege, because I feel it's a contradiction to say privilege in a society that try to talk about equality for all men and everything like that. So,
you said we all don't have privilege.
No, I said. Wait, what?
You said we all don't have privilege. Not everyone has privilege, right?
Yes, I said it. Yeah. No, I said everybody doesn't have the same amount of privilege.
Okay, the same amount.
Yeah, same amount of privilege. Because everybody, I know. Yeah, everybody has their own type of privilege.
A poor man, he's still a male, so you can divide it like that. Like, come on now, like
you're not lying. That's the bad thing.
Exactly. Most of us, even if you're doing bad off, you're still above the line of poverty. So that's an amount of privilege. Somebody who's, let's say, a lesbian woman who's Asian. She's in, I guess. She's a woman. She's Asian. Did I say lesbian first?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, she belongs to 3 minorities, so she could be underprivileged in those 3 aspects, but she could still have an excellent job.
Yeah.
So she's still privileged in that regard. So she does have some element of privilege. Just some people have more than others. So that's what you are acknowledging.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. That was basically.
This might be completely far-fetched, but before I even looked at these notes, I was thinking to myself when I got out of the shower yesterday, and I was like, you know what? A racist white woman doesn't make any sense. Wow. And I started thinking back to, like, you know, the only difference between a white woman in the, like, 1950s, 40s, and 30s, and 20s, and before then, and a black person was they were white. White women didn't have any rights. They didn't have any voting rights. They couldn't do anything. They were pretty much viewed as property, like, you know, in that sense. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just thinking to myself, like, white women have gone through the same struggles that black men and women have gone through. So for them to be racist is kind of like you're ignoring your own struggle, per se. Like, you feel like your struggle is different just because you are white, mm-hmm. not the fact that you're a white woman. So I've never, like, I was thinking about that, and it might sound like an incomplete thought because I was just like, you know what, this really, like, white women being racist really doesn't make sense because they really didn't get their same rights until, like, a few years, like, either before black people did.
But they were still on a
they were on a higher level. They were on a higher ladder and higher level, but from society's standpoint, like, what they were afforded as basic human beings, they weren't. Like, they weren't that far ahead.
But at the same time, their I want to say their core values and everything like that, their culture and everything like that.
They felt more close.
They were beneficiaries of a culture they didn't even necessarily cultivate, though.
Yeah,
well, they did help cultivate it,
but they just was born into that culture. Like, I'm the woman, I'm the second person, I'm not first. Like, man, I listen to him. That's how they was born into. Basically, that's how I was doing it. Yeah.
Well, with that, you could look at the end of the Civil War and Reconstruction. So the idea was, if you could make the poorest white person feel like they were better than the richest black person, then the system that they had in line of, I guess, not like a true caste system, but that's kind of, we don't call it that, but that's kind of what it is. That would always be in place. The hierarchy that was along those lines of just along the lines of race. If you could make the poorest white person feel better, feel like they were more important and better than the richest black person.
That's just toxic thinking.
So it's
the government will hate you all equally, but you know what? We understand that here. Mm-hmm. You got a little something. You got the right color skin, so we're gonna give you a little bit of welfare and a little bit of WIC, a little bit of Medicaid.
So
do what you want with it.
So you don't feel there's any type of weight privilege among women?
Weight privilege. I mean, there are definitely things that people. I want to expand it out to be applicable to anything. So there are things that.
His specific question is that the answer is yes. Because if you think about, like,
okay, so can you repeat the question?
He said, do you think, like, weight privilege exists with women? That's an absolute yes.
There are things that women. I don't like that term because I think it's ridiculous.
Weight privilege?
The whole term itself is retarded, but just based on his question, the answer.
So because you say weight privilege in the article, I'm just thinking like weight privilege. I'm thinking, okay, weight privilege probably doesn't factor between men and women because it's probably not that effective. I'm thinking like men, they don't weight. It's not that. But then women, that's a whole different story
with men.
Yeah. But then women, it's a whole different story. So. Is weight privilege actually a thing? I mean, amongst women, of course.
There are things, just like I said, I'm going to continue again. So there are things that women of different sizes experience that other ones do not. But I'm not going to call it weight privilege. Even though that's exactly what it is. But it just, To me, it's just the term is ridiculous, and it's kind of like this. It's you go down a rabbit hole because you could just start calling anything privilege, like orange jacket privilege. Come on now.
Orange jacket.
You are the only one in here with an orange jacket.
How is that? How does that benefit me more than you?
We're walking down a dark street, and Desmond and I get hit by the car, but you don't get hit because you're the orange jacket. That's orange jacket privilege.
They could see you. They couldn't.
Yeah.
Come on, Bryce. It's just like you putting out.
I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's privilege. All privilege is.
Okay, I understand how you make it up. Shit. I understand how you say
all privilege means is that you're exempt from certain things because of an attribute that you possess.
Exempt from
that's all it is.
Liability. Yeah, that's what I think. I looked at the definition before I came out. Yeah, it's like exempt from liability or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had another point too. Is I was thinking about how privilege works and how we label things privilege, and I think that it's dangerous at times where we assume that someone's achievement is automatically predicated on the fact that they have privilege.
We assume that?
At times, yeah. Because I was having a conversation like last week before last. Anyhow, so this guy, he was saying that we sometimes he was talking about people of color, black people in particular. He was saying we get carried. He was black. So he was saying, I'm just providing as much context as possible because you waiting to like pick holes.
No, I kind of figured he was black.
So he was saying we get carried away with calling things, putting things under the umbrella of racism. And he said, yeah, he gets carried away with it sometimes, and sometimes he has to, he has to take a step back and look at it. So I thought about once he said that, the YG situation where he got pulled off the plane. Do you guys remember that? And he called the woman, the flight attendant that was putting him off, racist. But I didn't see her say anything that was inflammatory to him on the basis of his race. To me, it just looked like he was being like loud and obnoxious on the plane. She was putting him off, and then so he called her racist, and he was recording and everything. So it's that's one way how I see that it plays out, where we are quick to lump things under the umbrella because you can't ignore the fact that he's black. YG is black, but anything that happens to him is not automatically because he's black. That's just a subdivision of who he is.
Okay, I understand. What?
That look says otherwise.
No, I was just about to challenge you, but of course you
challenge me.
No, I was just about to say, like, how do you know it wasn't? Racism doesn't always form of her calling him names or something like that. It could be something completely different as far as I wanted to say, I forgot what his term in New York where you
stop and frisk.
Stop and frisk, yeah. I was so something like that, stop and frisk, or just side-eyed every 2 seconds, something like that. So it just depends on what he. I mean, I don't know the incident, honestly. I don't know what happened during the incident. I'm just saying there could be other possibilities.
There could be,
but I do agree that every mistake is
everything
because
that happens
of his,
is not because
yes,
of
of
black.
course.
Yeah.
Black men. The government conspires to put a lot of black men in jail on fallacious charges, but you don't think YG is one of those men. I understand.
Yeah. And so, back to the focal point of it is how we assume that achievement is due to privilege. Sometimes there are like two candidates vying for the same position in a company, and let's say because the most traditional way to get privilege, everyone assumes it's a white guy, a straight white guy, who has that privilege and he gets the position, versus let's say a black straight guy. But there are people failing to take into account the qualifications. We just look at things for a surface level to look at things to differentiate and draw us apart.
Wow. So what do you think about the Oscars as far as they feel there's not enough black people being nominated as far as for awards? Do you feel that's just some
for their
huh?
You said as far as black actors not being nominated for their roles?
As far as not either black actors, black or movies, stuff like that, not being nominated enough for like Oscars and everything, the Oscar nominations and everything like that. I think 4 wins too. They were arguing, but how do you feel about that? Do you feel that's the type of white privilege, or do you feel people are just white movies are just more qualified? So 12 Years a Slave wasn't that good. Okay, you're saying that?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
It's like, as far as the Oscars go, I feel like. So the people who decide on these movies, they could have they on the basis of that, they definitely do exhibit bias on the basis of excluding movies and actors of color who have done substantial things in their role in film, whether they directed or produced it or were a lead actor or whatever. So that's my answer to that.
What do you think?
I don't think about it. I didn't follow the Oscars. I didn't follow it at all.
I didn't follow it closely, but I'm aware how like a lot of people were upset about what's going on. I feel like regardless, in an ideal like utopian world, it would be, if you wanted to shrink it down to the Oscars, if you excelled in your role, that person should win, regardless of the genre or.
I feel like you're looking.
Impactful.
I feel since you're looking at it more on a global scale, you're saying it's not that big of a deal because we all have it.
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm just saying we have to be careful when we start nitpicking.
I agree.
I'm not saying that we should ignore anything, but I'm just saying we should be cognizant it's not always because of one part of our intersectionality that we're being targeted or left out of a particular thing.
What?
Hard pass on this one.
Why?
Because I don't want to speak on something that I'm ignorant about. I didn't follow the Oscar situation at all.
Wait,
All I saw was the hashtag Oscar. So was it Oscar so
Oscar
black
so white?
or Oscar white? Yeah, that's the only thing I saw about it. I didn't really care to dive into it, and I don't really watch movies or TV like that to begin with, so I can't speak on like, oh well, this black produced movie and television show is way better than this. Like I'm trying to look at it like that. If it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not. Right. I understand that there is definitely some disproportionate, statistics as far as, the amount of white dominated but I don't. I think it is naive in a sense, but I don't try and like constantly divide things into race and put it into the race category. Like, oh man, it seems like every year this white person's winning. Like, you're getting paid ridiculous amount of money anyway. Like, if you're really that hung up on it, like maybe in your contract it's structured to where you said
It's a recognition thing.
it is a recognition thing, but it's like you're set for life.
I mean, would you really?
You're set for life. If you've managed your funds right, you're set for life. Like, there's a lot of people that work basic jobs that don't get the recognition that they feel they deserve. There's a lot of people that work basic jobs where people still the recognition they deserve.
But the other thing is not really recognition. It's about an image too, as far as laying up a positive image and allowing multiple platforms and multiple people to see it on a big stage, like, and making sure America sees that image. And like, if they see all black people in Africa with extravagant clothing on and look like kings and queens, that's going to make more black people, young black people, more believe in themselves.
I feel like the image doesn't start from the top down. I think it goes from the bottom up.
What do you mean exactly?
You can't base the image of a populace based off of who's at the top, because those people are like the select few who have accumulated their wealth or fallen into wealth or just that or the third. I feel like you have to base the image at the bottom, like not necessarily the bottom, but like almost like lower or middle class, because that's what it actually is. Like, that's what the overwhelming majority of that population goes through. I feel like you can't constantly sit here and say like, oh, well, if you make a one-hit wonder, you could be like that too, or oh, if you study hard and achieve everything you want, you could be like that too. Like, I feel like we're constantly forgetting that change has to start at the lower and then move up instead of starting up and then moving down, because it's still going to be that thing to where what they go through and the things that they want to push, they aren't going through that every day. Like, those are like specific things that are brought up, and like, yeah, they might have started there, but along the way you kind of like, I hate to say, you kind of forget the everyday life of where you came from. So you're afforded certain luxuries based off your own hard work, and good for you, but at the same time, like, you can't expect somebody who has been in power and living like completely different than what people who are middle and lower class are living, because it's not going to happen like that. Not everybody to begin with is following that person that's trying to promote change. It's a good start, nevertheless, because you have to start somewhere. But I feel like if change is going to actually like be impactful and last for generations, it starts from the bottom up. Because a lot of the people that are wealthy and got wealth for generations, they didn't like. It was like sack of gold fell out the sky and they've had it since then. Like they started somewhere and then they built from the bottom up, and it's been generations and generations and generations of wealth. Like that's kind of where I'm taking it from. Like the whole generational wealth thing. It had to start somewhere, and it didn't start at the top.
It's like the old adage where a chain is only as strong as its weakest link.
Yeah.
So the success of a nation is dictated by the well-being of the lowest members of their society. So not even saying like they have to be poor, but like if the lowest rung of their society happens to be very wealthy, then we would say that they're an overwhelming success.
Yeah.
Versus if the people out the fringes and the outskirts of the society, they're suffering, they're starving to death, then we say, hey, clearly there's something wrong with this picture. There's something off. They're not doing something right. They're failing. They're failing the people. That's how we determine that. That's why you're saying like we judge the success of a nation based off the majority or the lower end of the populace, like if you want to put it into a pyramid hierarchy structure, you judge it off of that versus what's at the very pinnacle, because they can achieve that by any means, whether it be by competence or just dominance or whatever, so be it. But what is
doesn't tell the whole story.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Gotcha. So does privilege equate power? Like if you have privilege over someone, does that mean you have a certain type of power over them? Do you feel that?
So let's look at this in terms of athletics. So we want to run
Athletics. Okay.
Yeah, you and I are going to race, right?
Okay.
And for the sake of this, I'm faster than you. I'm not going to give an example. I'm slower. So I'm faster than you, right? So in that case, I would have the privilege because I was faster. I would more likely beat you unless I pulled a hamstring or something like that. So I would say that is you look lost.
No. Keep going. I was thinking you're thinking privilege of you just being fast. I'm thinking privilege of what if you have a more experienced coach or something like
better shoes or something.
Yeah, or better shoes or something like that. Or more
people definitely have advantages.
Okay, but you don't think that equates power though?
I think it just portrays advantage. You have an advantage. Your privilege gives you an advantage because you can still lose with that privilege. You can still get one up. You can have all the privilege in the world and still fall on your face.
But you can't have all the power, or you can't have power and still lose.
Oh, you can. But it's easier for you to retain
can't have
that
absolute power and still lose.
It's different though. Yeah. Absolute privilege, absolute power.
And of course, I mean, we can sit here and say like, oh yeah, if you're looking at like we said earlier, same credentials, white man college degree, 3.8 GPA, black man college degree, 3.9 GPA. Well, the white man, he'll probably come in to work on time and do what he's supposed to do. And that's not the case at all. Like, you kind of, like, put yourself in the box thinking like that.
Maybe he had a better interview or something like that. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't know exactly what the thought process behind the interview or how their hiring process went.
Not to say that thinking doesn't occur, because people do make decisions based off of, I hope they don't do it.
It's a possibility, but we don't know.
See anything else you guys want to say about this topic as far as privilege?
No, I'm good on
that.
No.
I'll take my privilege and I'll tuck it between my legs and keep going. But
what do you guys think, though? Privilege, where do you draw the line as far as privilege? Is too much privilege? What's going on? Is it too much privilege bad for you? Do you have a lot of privilege? Do you not have a lot of privilege? What's going on?
Do you not know that you have privilege?
Where do you draw the line with privilege?
Say yes on that. Would they like, I don't know, do I?
I've seen a lot of white people, not to throw white people on the bus, but like, have like, it's just like on these social media outlets, be like, oh, I was so ignorant to my own privilege. I'm like, yeah, because society has kind of structured it for you to be that way. Like,
it goes back to what you're saying was normative.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when you realize your privilege, you definitely realize the stigma that comes with all the cultures. So
we're just asking for you to be aware.
That's it.
That's all we want.
That's all. But the third question is going to be: is humanity headed in the right or wrong direction? What do you guys think? Comment below. Let us know. Okay. what do you think about humanity right now? Is it headed in the right direction? You have Trump as president. We just came from Obama.
Come on.
Like, what's going on? We was heading in the right direction. Now you feel we's heading in the wrong direction? What's going on? Let us know.
We do not
okay?
promote left politics at all. We try to remain as neutral as possible.
Yeah,
not saying
exactly.
that any of us support Republicans, but we don't want to be completely biased.
Yes.
We don't have a political agenda.
We want to play both sides of the field as best we can and not, confuse it.
Absolutely. I have Republican friends.
I don't. I don't.
They know how to say it. Yeah, the black friend.
I don't have friends.
I know
All my
we're going
friends are
there.
dead.
But
Nobody got. Y'all got that?
So actually, I was thinking you should take this one first.
I think I should take this one.
Did you come up with this question?
Yeah, they came up.
That was part of his privilege.
Yeah, it's part of my privilege.
Yeah. You're better versed.
We kind of
in
have
this
the same privilege because you come up with questions too. I mean,
But this question, you have privilege because you're more privy to it. You designed it with an intent. You clearly had some kind of feeling on it.
I don't come up with any of the questions. I just.
I try to match it with the question that you put as far as privilege. I was like, oh, so you think humanity said in the right direction or wrong direction? So I was like, so that's really why I put it on this episode.
Not your privilege.
No. But as far as humanity heading in the right or wrong direction, ethically, I want to say we are headed in the right direction. As far as human things like human values, I don't think we're headed in the right direction now.
Human values?
Yeah, human values as far as like loyalty, honesty, stuff like that.
Who
compassion.
cares? It's all
Didn't you
man-made.
just say ethics? Didn't you say ethics?
Yeah, I don't really look at ethics as human values. I look at human values as something that we all collectively know that are what human values, ethics, as far as like morals and things that is.
So could you list off some human values?
Like trust, compassion, honesty, loyalty, trust, and stuff like that.
How about ethics?
I just said I don't look ethics as a human value.
But you said
I know, but I want examples of ethics.
We gotta have like he's saying he can't give you examples of ethics because he doesn't view it that way. Is that?
Yeah, as far as ethics, ethics is more.
He doesn't think of it.
It's more of a like everybody has a different opinion of what is ethical and everything like that. So I feel as far as human values, I feel it's more of a collective, as we all know what loyalty is or trust is and compassion is, stuff like that.
So for your sake, he is perfectly describing ethics, but he doesn't classify it as ethics.
Okay.
That's what he's doing.
Okay.
That's why you're confused.
It sounds a lot like talking about some ethical things. But, okay. Kind of like the white privilege where I refuse to say that word. And yeah. Okay.
Something like that. Yeah. But yeah, I just say it that way. As far as in the wrong direction, if you just look at, I guess you look at Trump, but if you look at just like global warming in general, like we all could be done in 30 years. Like so are we really headed in the right direction if we're really headed towards death and we're not really creating any type of solution to fix it or anything like that, or we're just ignoring it because we're worried more about the profit? So are we really headed in the right direction? That's why I feel we headed more in the wrong direction. Ethically, though, I feel we're all getting on the same page. We're all getting on the same page as far as what is, I guess you say what is right as far as not killing and stuff like that. You know? But yeah.
There was this a shooting at the mall the other day, bro. What you mean, like?
Two people got injured.
2 people got injured. Anybody die?
No, not to my knowledge. No, not well. I haven't checked up since.
I heard people talking about, but I didn't know exactly.
Was, bro. I was at. So Sydney was at the mall when it happened, and I was at work, and I was trying to leave work, and then they put ADP on lockdown. And ADP has a park at the mall. Like we park on the South Garage, which is like in between Nordstrom and Dillard's.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were on lockdown for like a good hour and a half. Couldn't leave.
What y'all do? What y'all do?
What do you mean what I do?
Hey, what do you guys do when you're on lockdown?
Stay in the building.
Just do nothing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like it was like a active shooter situation to where he was just aimlessly killing innocent bystanders. Mm-hmm. But even then, like I was actually like confused because we don't have like an armed security guard. We have like these like glass dividers, and when you scan your badge and the dividers open up and then you keep going, like somebody could have easily came in, went through the dividers, and like all our doors like to go into the like our offices and desks are glass. Mm-hmm. So there's like really no sound like protection. It's kind of like
that concern you at all?
That
concern you at all?
Yeah, it did. Like we were all like, damn, like if somebody want to come up in here and like just blow the whole office away, we'd be done. But all right, we weren't talking about shooting. We were talking about you.
Well, we kind of
were.
were. That's
But
the reality that we face.
But yeah, that's that was pretty much wrapping up as far as I just feel we are heading in the wrong direction more than the right direction.
I think. Wait, you said more, so you're implying, as you just stated, it's ethical, and so there's different dimensions that we're going across. So you could say, as in terms of wars, this is, believe it or not, one of the most peaceful times.
That's where I was going to go with it.
Yeah, one of the most peaceful times in the existence of humanity. The least amount of war casualties, and I think that has a large part to do with the severity of war now, because with the threat of nukes, you can't just we're much more reluctant to go to war because there's the consequences. They have a much heavier weight associated with them.
There is no I'll just nuke your country and be cool with it.
Yeah.
If we nuke North Korea, then what's to say Russia can't turn around and nuke us, or Iran can't turn around and nuke us? It's no longer a one-on-one situation. It's ain't no one-on-ones. He swing, I hit you type thing.
Yeah, and it's like let's use the three of us as an example. So if I hit you, and then Desmond can say, "Oh, he just hit him for no reason." Like, what makes me think that he's not going to hit me? So let me hit him before he hits me. Yeah. So we all just end up destroying each other. Black eyes for everybody.
Ain't no black eyes when he doing. Oh my goodness, what is going on? All right, so to tackle the question, I'm actually. Were you done with yours? I forgot. You weren't. You were.
Well, that was just one facet, but I'm curious to see what else you had to come up with, and then I'll just jump in that then.
So I actually am going to say that we are going in the right direction because I'm not going to base everything off of Trump politics. I actually feel like diversity-wise, we are as diverse as I feel like planet has ever seen, and it's kind of like a lot of companies, corporations, jobs in general, schools in general are really pushing the diversity agenda. Of course, there are a lot of like underprivileged, black and impoverished schools based off of what kids live in that area and what the school district can afford.
So you're saying diversity based upon the people who comprise those organizations versus the variety of organizations themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a good, because we have to start somewhere. It is been 60, 70 years, or 50, 60, 70 years since, desegregation and this, that, and the third. But at the same time, like, we knew it was going to be a marathon and not a race. We knew we had to get the qualifications. And even in getting the qualifications and the education and then the experience, we were still starting from square one. It's not like we were starting from, you go to college, you can start right here. This will be your entry level position, making $120,000. It was, you could go to college, start off an entry level position, but you're going to be making significantly less than somebody of the opposite race or, skin color. We'll keep it at skin color. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we have evolved a lot from that. There's a lot more equal pay, and there were.
In terms of, you say diversity, I want to tackle that question first. Tackle that segment first. You said we are heading in the right direction because of diversity. We're more diverse than ever. Is it for the right reasons though? Is it because they willingly said, "Oh, let's become more diverse"? Is it because we had to push it and become more diverse? I know you don't care about the reason. I know you just care about the actions, the outcome.
I can't answer that question because diversity has been spoon-fed, but the result of it has been good.
Okay, because I just look at it like, because you probably guys haven't even seen this, but I was thinking of Wayne's Brother episode where Marlon he got an acting gig on the show. He was like the first black character on his show, whatever, right? Like this white sitcom, whatever. But his parts was like embarrassing parts, like only lower demeaning parts, like for
traditional parts.
Yeah, for a role like him, for like a black man. So I was thinking about that, like there's more diverse, but at what cost,
Yeah.
So I was basically like.
No, I wasn't going that far because that's the '90s, bro. It was still '90s were a little.
90s, 2000,
well, back to
1984, 2019.
In the 90s, when that show was going on, the episode was used to prove a point, like him getting that role. They were illustrating something. It wasn't actually a real show where they were actually portraying him like that.
Not to say that it doesn't exist, but I mean, at the same time, though, like.
But that does. But that can happen. That doesn't exist.
It can, yeah.
Okay.
It did exist.
We use that.
No,
Yeah.
I was thinking about it. So I feel like diversity-wise, we're heading in the right direction. It might, the intentions might not be there, but the results are there.
That's what we care about, folks. Results, intentions. Come.
What are they? They're man-made. I could say humanitarian-wise, I think people are doing a lot more for other people than they've done before. And that's not to sit here and say like, oh, we're going to Africa and we're doing I feel like a lot more people are helping out within their community than they've ever done before. There's been a lot more light shed on, lower income school systems, and a lot of and then even this is some companies do this. They take those lower income schools and that's their parent per se. They provide the school with they provide the students and the kids with all the school supplies. They kind of take the initiative to sit here and say that if we're going to come to your community, we're going to do what we need to do so the community looks good and not just what corporations or Fortune 500 companies you have. So there has been a bit more and even just regular citizens doing it, because I know with you have your laps for lymphoma. A lot of people always high turnout for that. You have your walk for autism. A lot of people who are not tied to any cause or anything at all, still taking initiative to sit here and say we are still one as a whole. It's not a lot of people it's not a overrounding majority taking in on this, but it's more than what it used to be per se. So people are coming more in tune with their ignorance and then making change where they can. It's kind of like the whole privilege thing. They could potentially tie hand in hand. And then I also want to say even on a technological scale, technology does in a way put a damper on human interaction, and it definitely can affect jobs and say again?
Cyberbullying.
Bullying is bullying.
But come on.
Bullying is bullying. All right, make it out.
You been cyberbullied?
No,
That's what you do with Twitter?
I don't even understand it.
But in the same way, it also creates a need for new jobs, and those new jobs are also higher paying jobs. Not everybody can code a computer. Not everybody can code software. So, yeah, college might be required for these, but the risk and reward factor is a little bit different. Go work at a Ford plant, be exposed to harsh chemicals. Go to school, get your 4-year degree, come out anywhere from $30,000 to $70,000 in debt. Come out making $70,000 off the bat. The whole risk reward thing, it's a little bit better now. So people are more inclined to get their education because the jobs are there now. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where the motor plants and all that, they tended to lower class, but now there's an incentive for those lower class people to better their situation because the jobs are going to pay substantially more than what your power plant or paper mill or your manufacturing plant would have paid you.
What about the cost of living rising, and that's interfering with people buying their own homes as far as millennials and everything like that? Is that still right?
I can't say that because I feel like the cost of living has gone up and minimum wage has stagnated. And I feel like minimum wage is always supposed to, kind of level out the cost of living per se. That's how I feel like, if I'm correct, I feel like that's how it was initially designed. Mm-hmm. So in a way, you could say we're headed in the wrong direction, but a lot more jobs are taking that initiative and offering jobs that are already paying off the back, part-time, no experience really needed, more than, with the minimum wage. It might not be substantial, but nevertheless, it's better than what you could have got. And you don't ever want to look at it from that light because you're still suffering in a sense. My suffering is just less, but at the same time, my first job at 2012, I was making $725. No qualifications at all, no experience. So I can't say it does suck, but at the same time, a lot of jobs are taking people who start off in those entry level positions and are willing to push them through and keep them in the company at the same time. And if you are one of those people, jobs do typically tend to pay good to people who are loyal to the company, but at the same time, that's not every job. So it's a case by case thing.
I feel you are kind of looking at it as far as well-being, but what about as far as our overall well-being? Because I talk about global warming, I talk about how the Earth might not be how we think it is because we've been polluting the Earth for a while now.
I feel like
don't feel we're heading in the wrong direction.
I feel
if we
like
all die, if we're all
so
close to death, and lava starts coming out of the ground.
you remember we actually talked about this before when I had spoke on a lot of the carbon that we're dealing with now is the carbon associated with like the first and second world wars.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously there's an acknowledgement that we are headed in the wrong direction, but at the same time, like a lot of people are ignorant to global warming in itself. Like if you were to sit here and break everything down, people would be like, oh shit, like it's actually a lot bigger than what we're making it. It's a lot bigger than what people are saying. Like you're just taking global warming and then you're having a weather versus climate debate where it really should be like really down to the scientific nitty gritty of, this is what your car burns, this is what your house burns, this is what you burn. Understand the importance of plants because the plants help, accumulate some of that carbon. It takes it out of the air. So because people aren't necessarily educated on global warming in itself, you could say that, oh yeah, we are headed in the wrong direction, but that's at our own fault because people aren't taking the initiative to learn, and then we also aren't taking the initiative to teach.
I feel everything that's wrong about society, that's everything that's going wrong, is our own fault. I feel we will make our own end, if anything. So yeah, of course it would be our own fault.
But we can't
have lack of knowledge because it's everything that's going wrong is our fault. It's not going to be by the hand of God. I don't think it's going to be by a plague, a random plague, or anything like that. So.
Yeah, but we can't. But there's a lot more good to look forward to than there is bad. It's like we have advanced all this, but like, hey, global warming, it's it's gonna wipe us all out. Like, yeah, it could, but
it has the potential. But yeah,
it has the potential, but at the same time, we started like this, and we significantly went like this, but at our own risk, like at our own fault, we did our damage. So. Like we're tackling a lot of like I keep saying socioeconomic issues, but at the same time, like we have to be one as a whole in order to understand the importance of Earth and what it is, why it's so important to us. A lot of people don't. Like a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm gonna die anyway. Who cares if it's 2040 or 2090? Not realizing that they're.
If you die at 15, it's not. It's a little bit different. Than
but a lot of people who are in power, there's no rush for them.
Oh, you talking about?
Like the people who make the laws as they are. Like those are people that aren't going to be here.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's why. That's another reason why.
So that's what I'm saying. We can't necessarily base society's movement as far as global warming because a lot of people who are in power who have the say in global warming are either very ignorant to what it is, understand it, but the people behind them aren't in substantial numbers or just don't care.
Because you have people in Nebraska, this old farmer who lives in an isolated farm by himself, and he's saying, global warming can't be real because it just snowed yesterday.
Yeah.
They don't understand that global warming is not just the idea of the earth heating overall, but it's a shift in the climate, period.
Yeah.
So the polar ice caps might be warming up, but now we're having snow and record low temperatures in Florida or something like that. It's a complete shift.
I thought I read that it snowed in Greece
recently.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what? Record low temperatures in Greece. I was like,
it doesn't surprise me. Like it doesn't surprise me. I mean, it snows in Houston, and Houston is like, I want to say Houston says
hasn't it been raining like in California?
Yeah.
Which is, I feel that's crazy too.
It never rains in
So, there was I'm trying to find the name of the organization, but I think it's WHO, the World Health Organization. And they were you familiar with them?
Yeah.
Are they the ones who they try to budget money to mitigate the world's problems? And a
lot of them do. It's not just world. It's like you got I want to say there's a whole bunch of them. It's like I want to say they have like a food bank per se. Like the world, like they have a whole bunch of different branches under this one body, and they all tackle different things.
So it's like in order to get money, there's a lot of contention. Like kind of like we had the list of top 10 problems facing society. Remember that episode we did?
Mm-hmm.
So of people trying to argue and figure out what issues are more important. So it's kind of like, yeah, global warming is important. Yeah, world hunger is important. Yeah, this is important. But we have to look at ultimately what can we fix now.
Yeah.
Because if we focus all the efforts on fixing something in 20 years, something that's in the immediate future, like this new strain of the flu, for example, could wipe us out before then. So we need to. It's a careful balance.
Yeah,
So we look at
this is all United Nations stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we look at like you said, global warming, which is a severe problem within itself. But you also look at the advancements we made in like the medical field, for example. Like, let me look back real quick what I wrote. So, yeah, for example, a big one that I came across was the 3D printing of prosthetics. So now they're custom made. That's something groundbreaking. Before we had people with these very primitive hook hands that if they got their hand cut off or war veteran or something like that.
Yeah,
but now they have actual prosthetics that they can move, that are being developed, and then we also have organs that are being grown and developed.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think I'm looking at it more on yeah, that's fine, but if we can't breathe,
I understand
what's the point?
Well, if we can't breathe, then we're just going to come up with some technology that affords us to breathe.
Oh, we
Gotta
walk around Earth with
That's what we've been doing the whole time.
They said, oh, well, we have the machines that we can breathe now, but now there's no food.
Yeah, so we can't grow anything.
You would just continue to propose problems.
It's a cycle. It's like we're the gerbils or the hamsters running on the wheel.
But look at this. So back to the organs that they're growing in labs, like for heart transplants and things like that, because it's people dying on those lists to get organs, and they just don't. And then also, I'm not too sure about this. A lot of people, they don't like the idea of grown or lab simulated, well, not lab simulated, lab grown food. I didn't want to say that, but lab grown food. How they're now trying to grow meat inside of labs completely. So they use the DNA from cows, and let's say they'll just grow the synthetic beef. So it's with that tissue, but the same way that they do the organs. And so things like that they're doing to mitigate world hunger, which I think is a great advancement. You might not like or agree with the ethics of that, but I feel like that's anything is better than nothing. They're trying to come up with possible solutions.
They're trying to come up with possible solutions.
Oh, and I was thinking before this slipped my mind, you were saying how you kind of alluded to automation. I don't think you necessarily said that. With the different industries. So like they're working in the factories. So one thing that we do, like sure we are starting to automate more and more things, and we're becoming more of a technology driven world. But along with that, like you said, we're creating more jobs. So industry, that market for certain jobs may close, but there's another market that's opening up.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not like jobs are just, it's kind of like the conservation of energy and matter. It's not destroyed, you just allocate it somewhere else.
So you saying yes, we are heading in the right direction?
I believe so. I mean, given we're doing the best we can, I feel like, given where we could be. But yes, I'm aware of global warming.
Okay. You say I have another one for you. Say we become more technology driven. I mean, that could be harmful to us because we're relying so much on technology. Of course, I know this is more of a what if than global warming, because global warming is looking like a definitely guarantee. But as far as technology, we could be relying so much on technology that if the world goes dark, we're like we wouldn't know what to do. Especially the new generation coming up, like we wouldn't know what to do because we're so technology driven. That could cause us to head in the wrong direction too. I know this is more hypothetical, and you're like, well, that's more hypothetical.
No, it's a real possibility.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, do you feel we still headed in the right direction then, or?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know about that because
it's gracious.
Even though I'm like a big fan of technology, I'm not a fan of how accessible technology is. Like the fact that hackers can hack in and watch everything you do. Like somebody could be on your laptop watching you right now. Like I've never been a big fan.
Looking
of that.
up my nose.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm always been a big fan of technology and what it can offer. But I've never been a big fan of the negative associated with it. Like you just said.
But it's kind of like a necessary evil.
Yeah, exactly. Like yeah, I'm not comfortable with what can happen. But look at. It's not necessarily at the front of my mind every time I log into my laptop. Shit, somebody's watching me. I'm not watching it. I'm just, you kind of enjoy it when the bad does happen. You're like, well, I knew the risk to begin with.
I don't really. Well, are you thinking like, oh my god, somebody's watching me? So I don't really think about that. I just think.
I do.
Are you thinking?
I think about somebody's watching me like that. They fucking weird as hell.
Nah, I think about that because think about how many like people have cameras in their rooms and like cameras like watching every part of their house. Like you feel nice, safe, and secure until you realize that your system is hackable, and now somebody has like stuff on you that you wouldn't want anybody to have, and it's like, oh yeah, you could pay $15,000 or it's going viral. Type stuff. That's like my fear. That's what I'm talking about. Because think about it. Like a lot of our clients, when we was working at Car, they had cameras in their house, like in living rooms, like hallways type stuff.
You said the clients at Cloud?
No, Card.
Oh, sorry.
When we were behavioral therapist stuff.
Yeah.
Like they have like, and this was like common amongst like military and former military, but at the same time, like, what's to say that just your average Joe doesn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the type of stuff that scares me with technology. It's not the actual having it in itself, and oh man, what happens if there's a blackout? Like people are paid to be in those situations and help when they can and do what they can to, remedy it.
But it's more about people hack you.
Yeah, that's my fear.
It's a trade-off. You look at the risks that come along with technological advances, but you also have to look at the capabilities what we're able to do.
Like I'm actually able, like I went to hair the dog today, and I found myself less stressed, more inclined to have a conversation because I left my phone in the car. Like I like believe it or not, like if you're I feel like we don't realize
that actually worries you as far as like if you're on your phone, you feel like somebody's watching you.
No. He was saying he was able to focus and be present.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like that's how I'm saying like
so you
that was one of
you can't be focused and present with your phone there.
Nah, if somebody's boring me, I just sit here and I go like this, and it's just a common like every time I'm just pick up my phone every time I'm disinterested. Whereas if my phone's not there and I'm disinterested, I still have to listen. I'm still gonna listen, and then who knows? Like you might actually say something that intrigues me, and then we can keep going. But say if you're saying something boring, it's just like okay.
It gives you somewhere to
exactly. And 5 seconds later, you could have said something. 5 seconds later, you say something. I'm like, yeah, it's still not it, and I just tune you out altogether. But when my phone's not there, I'm engaged whether I want to be or not. And even if I'm disengaged, I'm still watching like society, not just who started, who's in the starting 11 today, who posted on Facebook. Damn, ain't nobody posting on Snapchat in a while. Like that, those are negatives associated with technology. But I feel like if
you actually think about it,
like if you go up there and it's like, damn, like
you ain't never been on Snap and like nobody done updated for a few hours.
But I never said that to myself. Like, damn, nobody been on.
Like, damn, ain't nobody on this.
Like, guy, come on, I need to see something. Like, that's funny.
That's the thing. Like, I feel like with technology, there's a discipline that needs to be associated with it. And if there's no discipline with it, then of course all the bad you're talking about is going to happen.
I have an app limit on my.
On what?
I have an app limit on my on certain apps. That's my discipline.
Oh, an app limit.
Yeah.
I think it's an app limit. I didn't know what that was.
And mine cuts off at 10. Like it goes into like screen. Like what is it? I think it's the same thing. Like time limit.
Downtime.
Mm-hmm. So you actually have to like type in like a password or tell it to like ignore the time limit for 15 minutes.
Like for 15 minutes. Yeah.
So it gets annoying to have to sit here and say like every 15 minutes.
Ignore 15 minutes.
So I'm just like forget it. I'm gonna just watch TV. I'm gonna just go to sleep. So there has to be like a discipline associated with it, and I feel like because we are like one of the first generations to deal with technology, we are ill-equipped. So then we're ill-equipping the next generation. That's why you have like a lot of 2 to 3 year olds. Just baby shark baby shark on their way through the day instead of like actually interacting with the kids around them.
Yeah, but so let's look at the reliance on the way we transmit and store our information. So in the case of let's say an EMP hits Norfolk right now, we're no longer able to access all of our music, our files. The podcast is done. Okay, no more Infusion breakdown. So we still drink tea. But that's it. So like it's just an issue. So I was talking to a coworker of mine. He mentioned the fact that we're just so self-reliant. So what happens if even in the future, if we still have electronics, but they become so outdated think about, cassettes, and you know how hard it is to find like something where you can play your cassettes and listen to those. It's a complete shift. So we become so solely reliant on what we currently have, like MP3s, MP4s, video formats. What happens when they're outdated? We have to either translate or completely lose what we previously had.
I'm not even gonna lie. I still have cassette players. Still have vinyls. So like, I feel like for me, like when we were talking about with Leanne and Matt, and she had mentioned like me being disconnected. I'm one of those people, like, my phone gets turned off because the bill isn't paid. It doesn't affect me at all. Like, I'm like adept. Like, I am equipped to go weeks without talking to society. Like, I have ways that aren't contingent or require some form of technology to like exist.
So when you say, I know you said something on me, was like, if I hit the lottery, like, you won't see me.
Yeah,
you
like,
won't see me. You're the same way.
Yeah, it's like if
I could live without too.
Huh?
I could live without it. Versus like I wouldn't be able to promote and do things for like the podcast and other things that I'm working on. But outside of that, like sustaining myself, that's fine.
Yeah, like I'm not one of those people that will hit the lottery and move to New York or buy one of these extravagant penthouses. Like, you catch me completely off the grid. Like, I'd be the person to buy like 150 acres and just live like smack dab in the middle of it and come out when I need to. Or even just like move to.
Where's Desmond at? You hear from Desmond?
Nope. Facebook account will still be active, all that stuff. I just want to access it. Come in like every 6 months and check in with people. Just want to let you know, I'm off the coast of Argentina right now. The next month I'll be in Chile.
Exactly. I have no idea. Don't do it for the grab. I don't care. Do not care. But is there anything else you guys want to add as far as this topic? Man, so Desmond says yes. Bryan says yes. I say no. Basically,
Sounds about right.
okay.
I'm gonna need us to we need to come to a consensus before we come in, so we know who's being cynical and who's not.
So we know who's a good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, because last week it was me.
I
This week it's him.
thought he was gonna do it. I was ready for it. I was like, okay, I'm with Desmond today. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Like, all week, I was like, my mood is Desmond narcissistic. I don't care. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, that's my mood. Like, I'm
What's
so
your
serious.
mood today, Desmond?
Desmond narcissistic.
Feeling very Desmond today. Anybody who watches it or anybody who knows me, like, yep, I know exactly what you mean.
Am I in the fashion industry?
Yeah, I like
Did
literally.
you see this coat?
Like, a lot of people at Cloud9 that come up to me like, yeah, like, I act a lot like Desmond. And then I'll be like, what does that even mean? And then they'll be like, hey, don't I act like an asshole? They'll be like, yes. I'm like, so this is what you tagged me to? Like, you have to understand why if you don't understand why, then it rubs you off as an asshole. Or rubs me off as an asshole. It's not the case. I just don't care.
Yeah, just all week I was just like, I'll be selfish now. I don't care. I'll be like Desmond. I was inspired to be like Desmond.
Aspire to be like Bryan. He's the reason why this podcast is even functioning right now.
But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in though. Let us know, is humanity headed in the right or wrong direction? Comment below, let us know, okay? But thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Joshua Freeman. You can catch me on Instagram at Joshua vs Society, also on Snapchat at Joshua vs Society. Bryan, where can I catch you?
Just look at the screen.
Just look at the screen.
Yeah, we tell y'all. We take non-play. You can look at the screen for Bryan. You can find me on Apple Music at DopestDes or Snapchat at the same handle. I would give y'all my Tumblr, but we don't get on Tumblr no more.
And we got that.
The album of the week is actually gonna be Flower Boy by Tyler the Creator.
What?
It's a classic. It actually came out 2017.
I thought you said something different.
Nah, Flower Boy. If you like I say every week, the disclaimers: if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. It's music.
Flower Boy by Tyler the Creator. Okay.
Yep. And we have actually have a code because I've been listening to a lot this week. Because I have like CDs still from when I was really big in collecting and hoarding everything, and I've been listening to Illmatic all the time in the car, just the CD, nothing else. So if we're on Apple Music, you'll see Flower Boy. If not, go buy you the 20th anniversary of Illmatic. Even though it came out in 2014, I still got it.
But yeah, thank you guys for. You saw what?
Just went off on a tangent about music.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. Peace. Peace.